La Ferte Alais, 20 miles south of Paris, and the home of the Jean Salis aircraft collection. A mecca for all full-size aviation buffs, but in June 1989, for 2 days, the mecca for radio control model aircraft enthusiasts, particularly large models, scale models of some of the most superb aircraft in the world. Meeting place for some of the top scale European modelers and their girlfriends and their wives, and a delightful weekend for anyone interested in radio control scale aircraft. Meeting place for some of the top European scale modelers, including George Vogelsang with his superb Wright biplane, and Gerhard Reich flying numerous types of scale models.
It's called a pond racer. It's a project which Bert Ruten or Ratten, I don't know how it's called. Yes. It should be a racer for, I think it's a 400 miles race. Who needs the least amount of fuel and go fastest with the most amount of payload and so. And there's a special formula, and this airplane is designed for this race. So it's not a Pyron race in this sense, it's just for straight flying. This Richard Lunkenheimer, this is his plane. He asked me if I can fly his model. It was the first flight and it hasn't been tried out, and we want to fly it here because it's a really large and big field. And so I flew it, and the only thing is it's a very big model with a long span, and it does not react as I'm used from a model that we are building and flying. So you have to plan a long time ahead and start a turn and start in the middle of the turn to bring it out of the turn, and it has to be trimmed full up, full right rudder and full right aileron to fly straight, but it flies. It flies smoothly, very smoothly. A little bit of trimming, and maybe it's a model for a big airfield. It's not for a small airfield. It glides too good. It won't come down fast enough. A small field. I fly in other models. I have this Cup 21 here, seen it last year, and normally I fly a Sophis Pup and a Tiger Moth also, so it's not the only model. But this is our new model, and we want to show it here, of course.
The Albatross is a Model D5. It's built to a scale of 3.5 to 1. And we have constructed this model as a prototype for our next kit. It's a completely revolutionary model for the model world, in that the parts which were made on the full size with steel tubing, we've duplicated in thin wall stainless steel tubing for the ailerons, for the rudder and for the elevator. The fuselage is epoxy glass fiber, and the wood surface is simulated by molding the wood grain finish in the gel coat, and then it's painted with a semi-transparent varnish to give the color of natural wood. I forgot to tell you that the grain which is incised into the surface of the gel coat is filled with black paint and then rubbed off with steel wool, so that the grain pores are filled with black, and then that gives the effect of the wood grain. It's a system which is used to make plastic doors today. Yeah. The model is powered with a 38cc Komatsu Zenoa two-stroke chainsaw motor, and on this motor is built a reduction gear. The reduction is 2.8 to 1. This reduction gear is to use a scale diameter propeller. The propeller is actually turning in the air around about 3,000 RPM, which means that the motor is just running a little over 8,000. The motor is fitted with a tuned pipe which has been adjusted to give the maximum power output. The total weight for the model is 14.5 kilos.
One of the first casualties of the weekend was Richard Rawls' Sopwith pub, later to be traced to radio interference. This superb model is a Saab SF340. It's built by Henri Vailde, and it is to 1/5 scale. Now the span of this enormously large model is 4.4 meters. The total weight is 37 kilos, and it's 4 meters long. The engines are 60cc two-strokes, and we're going to ask Henri if he would tell us a little bit more about it. Henri doesn't speak very good French, and very good English rather, and I don't speak any French, so we're going to ask the questions through an interpreter. Henri, can you tell us a little bit about the construction of this model?
Henri, pourriez-vous nous parler un peu de la construction? Comment avez-vous construit cet avion?
C'est un moulage de la partie avant du cockpit, des deux nacelles. Le reste, construction classique des ailes, entre autres en styropor.
Moulage en quoi? En styropor?
Non, non, moulage époxy. Hein. Époxy,
L'avant,
époxy.
l'avant, the front of the plane, the two engine cowls and the power plant parts are made of epoxy mold.
Mhm.
Hein? And the rest?
Les
Le reste?
ailes, c'est du styropor coffret obashi.
The wings are styropor covered with obeshi.
Yobishi veneer. And the fuselage?
Fuselage, pareil.
The fuselage, same thing.
Same thing. And the tail surfaces also?
Les empennages.
Les empennages sont pareils comme les ailes en époxy coffret, en styropor coffret.
The empennage, that means the rudder and the elevator, are in styropor, obeshi covered.
Yes. Can you tell us how many flights you've had with this?
Combien de vols avez-vous fait avec cet avion jusqu'à aujourd'hui?
Pour le moment, il y a 3 vols d'essai, 2 vols d'homologation et un vol en Suède, chez Saab même, invité par Saab à la base.
Okay. So, for the time being, there was 3 test flights, 2 for homologation and 1 in Suède at the SAB factory.
Oh, yes. Yes.
For
Good.
them.
Yes. And you'll be flying it later this afternoon.
He will fly this
Yes,
afternoon.
beautiful. Just one or two interesting facts. It has no less than 10 separate battery packs containing 46 cells. It's got 2 receivers. 14 servos are used, so it has a very good safety backup system on all controls.
Of course.
The propellers are 4-bladed, which is scale, and they're 20-inch by 10-inch propellers. And of course, we've got retracts, which are electrically operated. Henri, I do congratulate you on a marvellous model, and we look very much forward to seeing it fly a little later this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We don't very often get models of Japanese aircraft at these displays, but at La Ferte we had a superb pair of Zeros, Japanese Zeros, flown by Bernd Zander and Andy Teeves. These did an extremely authentic flying display with plenty of smoke and dropping bombs. Very realistic. The models were quarter scale and powered by 60cc engines, had flaps and retracting undercarriage. And at the end of the display, the winning Zero waggles its wings before coming round to land. This particular landing was quite exciting in as much that trying to keep it into wind brought it towards the camera, and only at the last minute does he manage to slew it sidewards, with the result that one undercarriage leg collapses.
Excusez-moi, vous avez une carte s'il vous plaît?
Deuxième édition cette année, même si elle existait à l'état embryonnaire depuis environ 5 ans. Vous voyez que les pilotes de voltige nagent un petit peu n'importe comment. La voltige, vous voyez que, par exemple, les passages...
See, normally you only want to go like that, but you want to keep it right down to there.
Yeah.
It'll start.
So you keep it like that.
That's right, yeah. That's right. There, that's right. Then let off. Yeah, right. That's exactly it. Yeah. Then just start.
15, something like that, but PT4 is not it's a low-wing plane.
No, it's not a PT, because it's a fighter, not a trainer.
It is not curved.
So it's a number, but it's not a letter.
Yeah, PT means pursuit trainer.
Yeah, but that's a pursuit fighter.
You think so?
Yeah, sure.
Mit seinem Kanal fliegt keiner, aber da fliegen zweimal einer, der eine fliegt auf 3500 und der andere fliegt auf 510, also der nächste Mal ist er 71 und daneben. Nur daneben oder was? Nee, der eine fliegt auf 71 und der andere auf 73. Und dann ist der Typ schnell, wenn er dann noch mit 64. Normalerweise ist er ja, musst du sagen, ja, musst du warten. Ich bringe den Sender weg. Fährst du noch mal?
Putain, les salauds!
Présentation avec des virages en bout de piste qui permettent donc le repositionnement. Et là, je crois que ça clôt leur
Ah bah ça fait quasi un peu.
Martin and Ralph, congratulations on the best display of synchronised aerobatics that I've ever seen. It really was marvellous to go through a full 10-minute schedule, it must be, and never lose position, and to do the aerobatics that you did, which included flick manoeuvres, a superb mirror, which looked absolutely as if there was somebody in the cockpit. It didn't look like a radio control display. I didn't think I would ever see a display of synchronised aerobatics with two aircraft that was as good as yours. I really do congratulate you.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little about yourselves and the models? First, how long have you been practicing for this type of display?
Well, we are practicing now for 1 year, together, first with two superstars and now with the Chipmunks.
And the engines, I gather, are 60cc, the 3W engine,
Yes.
and the kit is also a 3W one. The wingspan is what?
It's 255.
And the weight, all up weight?
Weight is about 10 kilos.
10 kilos. Right, when you started this display practice, did you go straight into aerobatic aircraft of this size, or did you start with smaller ones?
Well, I start with smaller ones, as everyone, and later I practice aerobatics. I tried to come in the Bundesliga, but it was not very interesting for me, so I start flying with big planes, and now with Ralph together.
Well, they certainly look most impressive. The other thing that amazes me is that you don't, in fact, talk to each other much when you're flying. Only when you're doing opposition maneuvers and when you're away do you talk to each other. Is that because you practice such a lot you know what each other's going to do?
Yes, I think so.
Well, in that case, you must have been doing a lot of flying together.
Yeah.
Have you ever touched, in fact, the two aircraft?
No, since now not. It's okay.
Good.
Yeah.
And what do you find the most difficult maneuver to do?
Well, I think it's the mirror fly. It's very difficult because you don't see the differences in the length.
Yeah, in the distance.
In the distance, yeah.
There's always one aspect that you can't judge how close they are together.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, again, many congratulations. I hope you do a display again tomorrow. I shall look forward to it. And again, the mirror flying, absolutely marvellous. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. The Block 200 by Lorenz Bernhard was a model 1/7 scale of a twin-engine interwar French bomber. It's particularly interesting because it was powered by two sidal radial engines of 5 cylinders of 7.5 cc capacity each. The wingspan of the block was 3.75 metres and 2.5 metres long. It weighed 20 kilograms. As you can see, Bernhard, although not a young man, was an excellent flyer and very competent and steady in everything that he did. In the ideal conditions at La Ferte, the block flew absolutely as the full-size aircraft. It's controlled by multiplex radio and used 7 servos. As special features, it had a bomb drop facility and also working lights for landing and navigation. So confident was Bernhard that he did a touch and go as well as an excellent final landing. Ralph Petrelsch had a unique model, this being the Dornier 635, the twin fuselage version of the Dornier 335. Although projected as a full-size aircraft, I believe that the prototype in fact never flew. However, the model flew and flew very well indeed, powered by 4 engines, 2 pushing, 2 pulling. This model already had flown 16 times before. It took 600 hours to build and is to 1/10 scale. Scratch built, obviously, because no kits of such a unique aircraft exist. The 635 put in a stirring display of flying. This model also featured retracting undercarriage, and really looked the part. You could certainly believe this as a full-size aircraft. All four engines kept going throughout the flight, but unfortunately on the landing, as you will see, he makes a perfect touchdown, but just catches the rear tail and the starboard lower rudder comes adrift. You can see now as it taxis past the missing starboard rudder.
Ça n'est pas pour que nous voyions mieux, c'est que question de sécurité, tout le monde derrière.
One of the most delightful models at La Ferte was this PZL Mark I/2. Having flown 15 times before, this quarter-scale model was powered by a VAP 33cc spark ignition engine and was made by Jean and Lionel Zimmerman. The Zimmermans come from France and put on a delightful display with this forerunner to the PZL-11 Tiger. As you can see, very controllable and very smartly finished in the red and white trim. This model is unusual in being covered with craft paper, but the effect, both at a distance and in close-up, is of a very believable scale finish. Most of the models at this meeting were extremely well finished, but the PZL was a particularly good example of the detail applied to the model. Note the instruments with the brass bezels and authentic instrument faces. Also the detail throughout the fuselage and on the wings. 300 hours of workmanship on that certainly has paid off. The very interesting Otto Doppeldecker was made by Harold Lohmann, also of Germany, and this is powered by a 38cc pusher engine. There were three 1/3 scale PZL builders, all of them performing in a very scale-up manner and with a tremendous performance from the 140cc AMT King engines. As you can see, vertical performance is no problem, allowing them to do a full tail slide with the builder. Delightful machine capable of glider towing, flower bombing, and also parachute dropping. John Clemens, with his model, uses an 1800 milliamp hour battery, 10 servos, and it is fitted with flaps. This particular one tows the large half-size Gruno baby on regular meetings. Now for the British contribution, and this was to consist of, hopefully, a flight of 4 quarter-scale de Havilland Comets. The prototype aircraft were built for the 1934 air race from Britain to Australia, and these are accurate replicas of some of these aircraft. They were to be flown by David Toyer, Richard Krapp, Richard Rawle and Len Rawle. Here's Len Rawle walking out with his all-green Comet, the de Havilland 88, followed by Richard Krapp with the Black Magic, and we in fact had two examples of the red, best known Grosvenor House comets. Although the models had all been test flown before, it's the first time that we'd attempted to get them airborne at the same time, and the organiser was very kind in giving us a special slot for this occasion. So away goes one of the red comets, followed by Len with the green one. As you can see, holding it down nicely until it's built up speed, then climbing away and retracting the undercarriage. It was at this point that we managed in fact to have 4 all airborne at the same time, but regrettably for only a short period, because 2 of the models suffered from quite radical radio interference, causing the demise first of Richard Krapp's de Havilland Comet, seen here doing a beautiful low pass, and followed in rapid succession by Len Rawle with his all-green Comet. Both models crashing in the distance over in the trees and took a long time to be found. It was shortly after these problems that the organisers decided that it was unsafe to fly on 35 megahertz, and all flying of all models on these frequencies was banned until further clearance was obtained. The first of the quarter-scale comets built was actually built for projected film in Australia, and was built traditionally from balsa wood and plywood, but we took a glass fibre mould from the fuselage, and the other 3 shown here had glass fibre moulded fuselages and foam wings and conventionally constructed tail surfaces, all powered by the excellent Titan 23cc spark ignition engines, and featuring flaps and retracting undercarriages specially built by one of our German friends. The 2 surviving red comets continued and gave an excellent display, much appreciated by the large crowd at La Ferte.
What was the problem then?
Just interference.
Interference?
Just interference, yeah. We were stirring. It just went round and just went in.
Yeah.
It just went slowly down. I was bringing up, further up. Trying everything. Cut the throttles, nothing.
Yeah. My crash squad's already over there.
Who's my crash squad?
This is it, yeah.
What are they doing now?
A regular performer at La Ferte is this incredible Fokker triplane, the DR1, by Bruno Olivier, who is a French chef. This model is nearly half scale. It's powered by a 427cc engine, has no less than 3 radio systems, has 8 servos, all very large, powerful servos, and had flown on 35 occasions before. For Bruno to start the engine requires a starter, in fact, developed from a Luton lorry starter system. 3,000 hours went into the construction of the triplane, which weighs 108 kilograms. Much care is obviously taken before they contemplate flying it at these displays. All systems are checked, and that means 3 separate transmitters should there be a failure on the primary transmitter. The model literally has to be manhandled, much as a full-size triplane would be, so that it's into wind. Ground handling of these aircraft was never very good. So Bruno is happy about the aircraft, opens up the throttle, taxis out, faces into wind, and as soon as he has clearance from the excellent ground control at the show, is ready for the takeoff. Away she goes, the tail comes up very quickly, and we're airborne in a matter of about 50 or 60 yards. Climb out is very scale-like, not too exaggerated, and the flying speed, of course, is an excellent scale representation. Looking superb in flight, and previously flown at La Ferte in 1988, where it was the top performer. Away she goes on the other side of the airfield. What happened there? Now, if we can take another look at that, we will probably be able to see just what did happen. Takeoff, no problem at all. Airborne in a short distance, all controls apparently working okay. He climbs out to the other side of the airfield, turns left, still no problems, and it's about this point when he realizes that he hasn't got the control he should have down, and at this point it is really too late to switch over to the other transmitters for them to take control. It's a matter only of about 4 or 5 seconds before she goes in vertically. Very sad occasion, and it was after that accident and 1 or 2 others that they in fact stopped flying on the 35 megs frequency. No problems, however, for Jan Berings, the regular flyer with the large Corsairs and Stuka. We see Jan frequently in Britain, and he always puts on an excellent performance. This is the second Corsair that Jan has built, and as always he carries a bomb, uses flaps, and uses flaps in fact in the correct sense for takeoff and for landing, and they have an excellent scale effect. Jan usually uses McCulloch engines for his models, and they're always reliable. I've never yet seen him have to do a forced landing due to an engine stopping. On this particular flight, you'll probably have noticed that Jan dropped a bomb immediately after takeoff, which was unintentional, and in doing so, his reserve fuel tank, that is on the prototype aircraft, is knocked askew, and you can see it hanging rather sidewards on the underside of the fuselage. Fortunately, it didn't affect the flying characteristics of the Corsair too much. In fact, Jeanne continued with the display as normal.
George, very nice to see you again here at the Ferte Alais, enjoying yourself.
Yes, sure, it's a big fun. I'm over here the second time now, and I'm really enjoying it. That's right.
Now, you must be an absolute masochist, because I can't think of anybody else that would try to build a Wright Flyer.
Well, there's a certain story to it. I've taken part several times at the QSAA meeting in Las Vegas, and we came back home with World War I trophy, with best of technical achievements and whatever they have over there, but we never got best of show. So we felt that this is a purely American trophy. And that's why we came up with an American airplane. And what else could we do than the first one ever, the Wright Flyer?
Well, I must say it's a marvellous achievement, because not only does it look superb, but it actually flies, and it flies beautifully, as you demonstrated just a few minutes ago.
Yes, I came up with a half-scale mock-up of this plane before, which had a center engine in it. And I cracked it up several times till I had it in the air, and well, this gave me the basic knowledge of what's going on with this kind of a canal with wing warp. And well, once I had that sorted out, I got it in the air, the big one, this one here.
And it looks, you know, quite reasonably stable, which is surprising for an aircraft with this configuration and with no side area.
Right, and if you see that I had to use two engines on this one, which are pretty far out, and there's no prop wash, no prop blast on the rudder. You really have to fly it, what goes to the rudder separately from the wing warp. So whenever you put the wing warp in, you induce quite a bit of adverse yaw, and you really have to counteract with the rudder.
And your launch method?
Yeah, well, we tried to come up with that big weight, that lump of stone the Wright brothers had, but it was too heavy to bring it over to La Ferte, so we took the bungee cord.
Now, I wonder if you could just show us the operation with the pilot, which is absolutely intriguing.
This plane is set up for the Wilbur method. Actually, Wilbur and Orville use different methods how to control the airplane. And Wilbur had on his left hand the elevator. You can see this here.
Yes, yes.
On his right
so that's
hand,
normal fore and aft.
Right. On the right hand, he had the wing warp.
The wing warping, yes.
You can see the wing,
yes.
wing warping here.
Incidentally, is that a very big servo you're using there?
I'm using 210 kilos on it, so it's 40 pounds actually.
Yeah,
which is new.
yeah.
And what is quite odd is the rudder. This is the rudder. So his right hand moves forward and backwards to actuate the rudder. And when he's in full operation, it looks like this.
That is known as stirring the sticks, really.
Yeah,
isn't
I think
it?
so. That's why. Maybe that's why it's called a joystick.
Yeah. But you imagine, I mean, they must have been remarkable men, the Wright brothers, because the mental strain, if you like, of trying to remember that left and right on the rudder is forward and back.
Yes.
Where on the wing warping it's left and right. That's some achievement.
I think so, especially on the first flights when everything is new, and of course these planes had very sensitive elevators too, and they better shouldn't get mixed up though in those days.
George, thank you very much for showing us marvellous model, and we hope to see it in the air again tomorrow.
Well, we try our best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A few years ago, this Avro Lancaster at 1/10 scale would have been considered a large model. Nowadays, however, it only looks moderate size, although powered by 461 size engines. Nevertheless, the 3.15 metre wingspan means that it doesn't behave as well as some of the larger models on display at La Ferte. You'll notice that it is more affected by the wind, in that the wings tend to rock more than on some of the other aircraft. Also, it did not possess retracting undercarriages and therefore lost certain of the scale effect. As always, Gerhard Reich put on a sparkling display with his Cap 21. He does every manoeuvre in the book, but he does it at such a low altitude that it is quite amazing that he keeps the model in one piece throughout a whole season. The model has now performed for countless displays throughout Europe, and it is always an immaculate aerobatic display. Gerhard is, of course, one of the top aerobatic and scale flyers in Germany, and is justly regarded as #1 in that country. Power for the cap that Gerhard flies is the Titan 68cc. Another regular performer at La Ferte is Pierre Ferrand with his Shrike Commander. This is an excellent performer, flying in a very scale-like manner, and Pierre is one of the coolest flyers that I know. The Shrike Commander is quarter scale and is powered by two TRD 37cc engines using 20 by 7-inch propellers. Just watch this for a superb piece of flying. Brings it round, undercarriage still up, gradually descends, and then instead of doing a low fly pass, he actually kisses the ground with the underside of the fuselage in a wheels up touch and go. Believe me, this is not an accidental happening. He does it regularly at every display. Here is a prototype for a gas turbine engine, very small as you can see, but not as yet a working prototype. It only operates on compressed air at the moment. Whether they will ever get it operating as a true gas turbine engine remains to be seen.
Each part of the engine is made by my own hand.
Very good. And what cc is the engine?
240. And he runs with 3,500 RPM with that drop. Today I can't run. Problem with the carburetors.
Andreas was also responsible for this excellent DC-3 Dakota, one that's been on the flying circuit for some time now, but powered this year by two 7-cylinder sidle engines of 70cc capacity. Joined here by the constellation of Willie Kling, another regular performer, and this one powered by four 12cc two-stroke engines. They make a delightful duo and fly at very near scale speeds, certainly slow enough to be very believable. As you can see, fly very closely together, both parts having a full understanding of the other's capabilities. The excellent silver finish on the model is a result of Orocover, which is a continental iron-on film, and they produce particularly good metallic effects. Now, with a total of nearly 100 flights logged up, Andreas flies the DC-3 to absolute fine limits, as you can see, not being afraid to do an extended touch and go. Constellation, not to be outdone, also does a slow fly past and touch and go. He then allows the DC-3 of Andreas to come in for a low pass. One of the reasons these models fly so well is the fact that they are lightly loaded and therefore can be flown slow without the risk of them falling out the sky. Followed by one of the excellent landings that Andreas always puts in. However, on this particular occasion, for some reason, one undercarriage fails, but the Constellation, as if to show its superiority, does a most unscale-like loop, but it does show that the model is particularly responsive and controllable, and whether they ever loop the full-size Constellation, I don't know. No doubt it would be capable of performing a loop in the right hands, but it would certainly be a bit scary for the passengers inside. So the Constellation comes in for a nice touchdown to complete an excellent display of airliner flying. A whole pile of trophies to be awarded at the end of the display. Everybody has enjoyed themselves, a marvellous mixture of flying, drinking, sleeping, anything you want, from the youngest to the oldest. Only one man was crying, and Madame Desfarges continues with her knitting there, while some of the public were fast asleep through most of the show. It really was a fabulous weekend, and we can only say, if you have a chance to visit La Ferte, the IMAA meeting of the year, you should go. It really is worthwhile. And we would like to thank the organisers of the La Ferte show for giving us the facilities to make this video recording.